Hello again, everyone. You're listening to another episode of Executive Platform's Blueprint podcast series. My name is Geoff Micks. I'm head of content and research. My guest today is Stephen Molen. He's with Cority, and we're going to be having a conversation about EHS and sustainability. I'm really looking forward to this. Stephen, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Geoff. Great to be here.
Where should we start on this? I mean, there's a lot to talk about. What are some of the common trends and themes you're hearing from the conversations that you're having?
I think really the people we've been talking to this week are trying to figure out as a business what is their sustainability goals and where are they currently sitting and what are some reasonable objectives they can start with. You hear a lot about people saying they're going to go to net zero or they're going to increase social investment or other health and wellness initiatives for employees, but having meaningful objectives and ways to measure and manage that is really critical to a lot of the businesses.
So in these conversations, what is some of the advice that you're offering when people say, well, we're setting these goals or we're looking to achieve these things? Some of it is very aspirational, some of it is very concrete. I'm sure there's a lot of specifics that you can offer, but what are some of the common ones that you do?
There's an expression out there, what gets measured gets managed. And I think it's really important to first identify key data in order to be able to understand how you're performing today. So you can establish goals and objectives and then ways to measure against, are you actually improving? Oftentimes, something like net zero is a very broad aspiration, but actually understanding your current footprint and steps you can take to improve are the most critical things.
When executives are saying, this is a program we're starting up from square one, or maybe we used to be more in the EHS space and I put this ESG hat on, what guidance do you give them? Okay, well, you need to measure this and you need to keep this in mind.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I find that at this conference and in a lot of different interactions that people who are charged with sustainability or ESG don't come from one common background. I was recently talking to someone that comes out of R&D and packaging from a major confectionery business. And when I look at other people in this environment, really it's a very diverse set of backgrounds. Cority started as a provider of EHS, so working with environmental professionals, health professionals, and safety professionals. And I find that EHS isn't always as involved in the sustainability dialogue. I think there's a real opportunity to consider what data is available in the EHS teams and what information they already have at their fingertips to help inform sustainability.
And I think you make an excellent point that lots of different departments have their own pool of data that might be relevant. Finding a way to pool that data, get one source of truth, and really answer some questions and document where you are so that you can see where you want to go. I mean, that's really the name of the game.
No, absolutely. And Cority provides software capabilities in this area, but really it's about helping companies to collect information, be able to see it so you can proactively make improvements upon your business processes. And, I go back to what gets measured gets managed, because the better you don't spend time on manually collecting data and building spreadsheets and working on very laborious, tedious tasks, the more time you free up to work on the actual goals in mind, which is mitigating carbon, improving culture, and really having a great sustainability program.
All right, well, let's get into Cority as a partner in this space. I mean, what makes you good at what you do when they're weighing pros and cons of the different options that they might want to partner with? What makes you guys shine?
I think Cority's been in the market for about 30 years. So really our long-term commitment to empowering the professionals who are on the front line of defense for companies, I think it really sets us apart because that longevity tells you that we're very focused on the same objectives that our customers have. And we really have a very successful track record of helping companies to mitigate these type of concerns and also improve their overarching sustainability programs.
How does Cority interact with other systems within a network? Because again, a lot of companies have a different person in charge of their sustainability goal depending where it starts. Does it play well with the ERP? Does it play well? How does it connect those systems together?
Yeah, so we're very interoperable. Our system has an API layer and ability to talk to any systems inside of their environment, obviously with security and permission and things along those lines. But we pride ourselves on being a part of the ecosystem that our customer needs in order to be successful.
So again, I like to put myself in the position of some of our listeners who are in charge of sustainability programming or perhaps they're not. Perhaps they're the supply chain executive, but they understand sustainability is important, and this is something that they can do in addition to what they're already doing. How do they get started with Cority? What does the timeline look like? They're seeing if this is a good fit, and then they say yes. What does moving forward look like? What are the timelines?
Yeah, I think generally people try to evaluate a few different vendors and take a look at key capabilities. The first step is really to understand what are your critical business objectives? Like, what is the actual problem I'm solving for, and why now? I think sustainability and corporate responsibility has been around for a long time. Do I actually need a software platform? Generally encourage people to reach out to us, have some meetings, take a look at our vision, take a look at where we see the problem, and determine if that aligns with your goals and if it sounds like a way to help you with your business objectives. I think it's really important, though, for leaders to understand the return on investment and if this is a good use of business resources. I think wasting time in inefficient processes and spreadsheets, obviously is something that you have to do at some point for certain problems. But at another point, I think software can really help to accelerate and give you the information you need at your fingertips.
I'd be interested to know a little bit more about Cority's story. It's a 30-year-old company. It started in the EHS space. How have you sort of built upon that, and how are you now helping people with sustainability issues? What is the connective tissue there? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, great question. Cority actually started as a medical technology helping occupational health nurses who work inside businesses and care for the health and wellness of their employees. And so as we've evolved as a company and grown over the years, we've always kept the employee front and center in the way that our solutions work. They're trying to protect people who work in factories, who work in the storefront, who work in the mine, or the oil field, really, and make sure that they're front and center. So when we look at any business process like health or hygiene or environmental, it's really about understanding, what's happening on that front line of your company, being able to take that information and roll it up by facility, by geography, or however it needs to be reported out so that the executives and the leaders can make improvements to ensure everybody gets to go home at the end of their day. Having that deep environmental and safety experience is really a big value to helping our customers with their sustainability goals, because ultimately when you're looking at something like carbon emissions reduction, it starts with data on the front line of defense at a asset level, at a facility level, at a factory floor level, and being able to then roll that up to global objectives that can be communicated at the board or at the stakeholder level, I think is really important. And I think it's a pretty unique experience to be able to go really from A to Z, from the shop floor all the way up to the C-suite in terms of how we can measure and help companies improve.
I'm so glad you mentioned the people part of all this. I think sometimes when we mention technology, we forget it's being interacted with and used by people. And if you're talking about people right down at the front line doing the work, all the way up to the boardroom, it must be pretty user-friendly. It must be pretty interactive. How are people engaging with it on a day-to-day basis?
Well, we have a responsive design portal that allows an employee to use any type of device, so phone, iPad, tablet, in order to be able to interact with the system. And they can go to that portal and be able to see training videos. They can report an incident. They can identify findings. They can request changes. And it enables the corporate organization to really respond and automate those processes that start with the frontline employee. Often I try to talk to our company and explain, but a lot of our users are that shop floor manager or the person who's responsible for safety. And I think in each function, safety, sustainability, it's something that needs to be embedded in part of operations. The people who are running the factory need to understand sustainability goals. They need to understand safety goals. So be able to provide them those tools in an easy to use, easy to access way is really critical to our solution.
Yeah, it's really, again, interesting to hear you put it that way. I think safety culture is one of those things that everyone understands it's everyone's responsibility. And I think that's where sustainability culture is going. And so giving everyone access to the tools, not just upper management. Everyone has access to these resources to say, hey, as we're working towards sustainability, here's my contribution, or here's how I access the issue. I think that's great.
Yeah, no, I think it's critical. And the person who's most likely to prevent an issue or prevent an injury or ensure recycling is happening at that facility level, they just need to be able to understand why it's important and have access to information and processes that make their life easier. It shouldn't be in addition to their job. It should just be part of their daily routine.
Now, we've covered a lot of ground in this conversation. Are there one or two key ideas you want people to think about a little further after listening to this?
Yeah, I think I would encourage people to reach out to the key stakeholders inside of your company that are already doing environmental health and safety processes. Ensure that sustainability isn't a new team or a new initiative, but it's something that's really thinking from the ground up. How do we take those great contributions by other team members and be able to weave them into what we're trying to accomplish? You'll also find there's going to be a lot of tremendous data and history that's already being captured in the team. And that can, I think, help you establish your short-term goals and objectives, as well as long-term, how are you going to evolve and continue improving?
For people who have some questions, want to learn more, maybe want to partner with you, what's the best way to get in touch?
I'm happy to be reached by LinkedIn and or go to cority.com, and you'll find lots of great information on our website and submit a request for more information. And someone who's knowledgeable and helpful will reach directly out to you.
I have visited Cority's website, and I do think it's a great place to get started. I also always want to highlight whenever anybody says, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you've been listening to this episode, you probably really enjoyed what he had to say. So I do encourage everybody to pick his brain. He's clearly a subject matter expert with a lot of great things to share. Stephen, thank you again so much for your time today.
Thanks, Geoff. It's been great.
You've been listening to another episode of Executive Platform's Blueprint podcast series. I've been Geoff Micks. Let's do it again soon.